fucked up your JEE? Don't worry, I did too. Back in 2012, this is a story I haven't told anybody, and when I was writing the JEE exam, I was in the middle of the exam. So the first half was over, and of course then you have a lunch break, you come home, you eat something, and then afterwards you go again. So my father was there to pick me up, and then afterwards, of course, I wasn't talking in the car, and during the lunchtime he was asking me then afterwards, like, yeah, so how was the first one? I was like, yeah, I don't think anything is going to come out of this. Of course, he was a little bit disappointed because if you think about it, so much money went inside in all of these different kind of coachings. So much money went inside in commuting because I used to take classes in New Delhi and I used to live in Kurukshetra. So you would otherwise take a taxi or you would take a bus or a train. We would mostly take a taxi because we would be 3 people, so we would just like divide the fare and we would like go with taxi to New Delhi, and it was a lot more comfortable because we would just get picked from the houses and then afterwards we drive to the coaching institute because the classes start I think at 8 or something, they go on till 6. It's a very long day, and then we only have to focus on essentially studying and we don't waste time, right? Like that's the idea behind it. So with all of this money spent, because if I remember, like every single taxi drive used to cost around like 2000 Indian rupees, 2500 Indian rupees, if you divide it by 3, 800. And there were like maybe 52 of them at least, definitely more because it was the entire 11th and 12th. So I don't know, you guys can calculate. I think that's a lot more money than I think we generally invest in anything normally. And on top of that, I was also taking coaching in my own city. I think this is not a scenario which is very unfamiliar to you, right? You're taking your 12th tuition sometimes, you're going to the school because maybe you have compulsory attendance, then afterwards you're taking coaching in your own city, then maybe you're taking coaching online or some in different kind of city. That's exactly the story which was there almost 10 years back. I just feel so old saying that like I wrote the JEE exam 10 years ago. It's a decade. And I'm 27 right now. If the 17-year-old me would have seen where the 27-year-old me would come in life, I would actually never have worried about this. But what was the result of the entire JEE scenario? Which is probably the situation you're also facing right now. When you screw up the exam, you're not really dealt with kindness. You're not really dealt with encouragement that, alright, if this didn't work out, something else is going to work out. Or don't worry, one stupid exam is not going to dictate the rest of your life. Nobody tells us these things. Not our parents, not our relatives. I mean, some people have good parents, some people have not so nice parents. In the end, they're your parents, you cannot do anything about it. But for me, it was not so bad. I mean, like, we were still having these kind of conversations, all right, what else can you do? Okay, this university is still not so bad, and so on. I remember this one exact scenario, and that is when the results came. Not scenario, the moment when the results came for JEE anyways, like I failed, so that made no sense. AIEEE, right? So that used to be, I think, the JEE mains version previously. So there I got the rank of 43,434. Such an interesting rank. Like that's the one thing I remember from all of this because it's such a nice number. It's 43434 in 2012. And with that, I was not getting the NIT Kurukshetra. So how the physical counseling started was, I went to the first university. I registered myself there. That was the, I think, Guru Jambeshwar University in Hisar. Then afterwards, I went to UIET in Kurukshetra University. I registered myself there and took my seat away from GJU. Then afterwards, I went to YMCA, Faridabad. There I registered for, I think it was Triple E or IT or something. I think it was Triple E, some instrumentation something. I registered for that, then again took it back from there. Then afterwards, I ended up registering in Deen Bandhu Chhotram University of Science and Technology for chemical engineering in the starting. And then afterwards, in the last counseling, there were some seats left. I think there were 6 or 7 seats left, and I was the 4th person who got inside, and I had one more friend I know from, I don't know, 5th grade almost. So he was the 2nd last person or 3rd last person inside. So all of that was a fight. And I remember my friend's parents coming to our place at that time and looking at the screen when the result came of 43434 and saying, oh yeah, I think he will definitely get inside there's this private college or something in Kurukshetra, like something that is actually not so important and everybody jokes about them. So they were like, yeah, he will definitely get inside that. And that was kind of painful. So first of all, I don't understand, like, when your son got really good score, why are you going around in everybody else's houses and like asking them about their scores? Like, how is it your business? Your son did well. I think this is one advice I can give to the parents, and that is like during this time when your children are already pretty demotivated, discouraged from all of this nonsense which is happening around them, avoid them from these kind of scenarios. Because them not writing well one exam does not mean anything in their life. I also didn't write that exam well. I was also having all of these problems that many of you are having right now. That is, I essentially went into depression right after, I think, my 12th grade or something. Already in the 12th grade, because in the 12th grade I started realizing that this is an exam I'm not able to clear. It just felt like an absolute hellhole. Because when you go outside, the only thing anybody wants to talk about is how is the 12th grade going on, how are the boards going on, how is the JEE, what kind of university you got inside, and so on. This is at least 2 or 3 full years of your life, or even more. I think like even it starts around like after 10th or something and goes on till the end of the first year. These 3 years at least, it's such shitty years of your life. I just cannot believe that. And these should be the fun years of your life. They become horrible because of all of these nonsense, all of these comparisons, measuring each other's achievements, which absolutely brings no value to your life. At that time, if somebody would have told me that after 10 years, after exactly a decade, you'd be running 2 companies, multiple different brands, you'd be having revenues in like pretty decent sizes, you will have at least 10 employees working for you, I wouldn't have believed that at all. And if somebody would have told me you'd be doing things which would be actually helping people out in day-to-day life, and they would be having more hopes, having more dreams, and having more motivation because of you, I also wouldn't have believed that. How you screw up your JEE, how you absolutely obliterate your 12th, it has absolutely no impact on how things proceed ahead. And I'm going to tell you in real world scenario too. Alright, you screw up your 12th grade exam, right? Okay, so if you are not able to go towards public student colleagues, you're able to go towards private student colleagues. After private student colleague, you're still able to go into public universities. That's an absolute myth that after private student colleagues, you cannot go inside public universities. We are working now with a few private student colleagues who are actually helping students to go towards public universities afterwards. The only difference is that you just have a little bit lesser headache with this. Student colleagues are anyways like coaching institutions. So they're just finally preparing you for the final exam so that you're able to study in public universities, right? So if you have bad grades in your 12th, you can either go for private student colleagues, or if you want to stay in India, you want to continue your bachelor's, you can do it in any of the recognized universities. As long as it's accredited from AICTE or UGC, you're able to go ahead and study your bachelor's there. Then afterwards, perform well in your bachelor's. If you're getting at least 70% in your bachelor's, you're still able to do your master's from abroad. So this is also not a big problem if you really think about it. Like how you screw up your 12th, how you screw up your AIEEE or this JEE mains, advanced, whatever, it has absolutely no impact on your life, because even though in India, people start treating you as 3rd grade people or tier 3 people, because they actually do. I was taking a look at all of these different kind of job openings where people were only asking for tier 1 universities. We only want people from IIT, we only want people from IIM, we only want people from XYZ universities and so on, for MBA something else. And that's pretty stupid, because I have seen people in IITs, NITs and whatever who are so goddamn stupid just because they wrote an exam well. I mean, anyways, you talk about reservation now, because in reservation also you have so many people who are actually not having the merit to study in those universities. These are many of them very well-off people who can only then afford to go into coaching and only then afford to get better marks than other people, and of course are then again cycled in the system, because of course your caste never changes. So if your caste never changes, you have this perpetual privilege of coming in at lower ranks into better universities and so on. So you will also find some of the stupidest people also in these universities. So the university does not decide anything for you. Only in India it does, and you apply for Germany, Canada, US, UK, whatever you want to apply to. When you apply to Germany, at least, Nobody's taking a look at if you went to IIT or NIT or to some private university or some private college which is affiliated to a state university, whatever. Nobody cares. They just want to take a look in the end about what kind of profile you have, what kind of things you have done. Did you do some kind of internships on the side, even if you're from a bad university? Did you have good score? That's the most important thing. Then having your documents in line, which is your statement of purpose, CV, letter of recommendation, and any other thing that the university might require. Sometimes they require some kind of technical essay, which is for masters, and sometimes they also take interviews, which is again for masters. At bachelor's, this does not happen. But anyways, all of these things we also help you out with on Big Academy. There's a complete course for studying in Germany, so that pretty much covers everything if you need any kind of help. One more thing that you have to watch out for is some universities, if you want to do bachelor's in Germany, they ask you for some kind of internship, which is a 2-month internship or 3-month internship. So if you can do that 2 or 3-month internship in some company directly in your hometown or nearby, that's again an additional advantage for you so that you're selected in that university. Again, all of these details, like I said, we already cover in the complete course for studying in Germany. So once you're part of that, that pretty much solves your problem. So just to summarize everything for you, you're not born to compete in millions. You're also not dumb and useless unless you clear a stupid exam. You deserve kindness and an environment which encourages you to be your best. If you end up with a bad score, it says absolutely nothing about your character. It says absolutely nothing about your ability of doing things. And it says absolutely nothing about what you can achieve in your life. I achieved a lot. I never expected. I absolutely didn't expect. Because my belief systems were made by the society around me, which was the society where I was living in India. And almost every single one of us is living in a similar society, where you have these mohalla aunties who are kind of spreading rumors, discussing behind your backs, gossiping. You have your father's friends who are telling in what kind of great university their son is studying and not, and what kind of great university his son is studying. The entire Indian society is essentially a dick measuring contest. And when I was in your phase, and these so-called friends starting showing their results in your face and everything, I left every single one of them. I'm not in contact with any single person whom I went to school with, to different kind of coachings with, because it was just a shit atmosphere. And the way essentially many people deal with these things are not mature enough, and that's understandable. You're just like 17, 18, you're absolutely happy. Sometimes you have less regard of how the other person might be feeling. So if you're that person who did really well, congratulations, but also understand your friend who didn't do so well, he doesn't need to hear all of this right now. If at all, give him some kind of encouragement, share with him this video, and let him know the life hasn't ended yet. There is so much more that you can achieve in life. For me, it was coming to Germany, doing my first master's, figuring out I'm not really happy with that, doing my second master's after first year and completing it in 2 years exactly, a German taught master's, learning German, becoming proficient in that, finding a life partner which I never expected, who turns out was in Germany, then afterwards buying a house on the island, then buying a boat that I really wanted to buy, and in the end, finally buying the car that I always wished to have, but I knew I will never have the money for, which was a Porsche. So just remember this, your life is a lot more than a simple exam that you write for 3-4 hours and afterwards screw up. Don't worry about that. You have a lot more things coming to you.